Folks, welcome back to Allergic to Stupidity, and this is my YouTube channel where I get to grumble and grudge and hopefully put some validity into feelings that you might have. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. Don't forget to hit like. Don't forget to hit subscribe so you get to see my darling face a little more often, and share, especially if you find something that really made you go, yeah, that makes sense, or clarifies something. So it is Friday the 25th. What happened to April? We're January, February, March, April. We're almost a third of the way through 2025. And it's been a very interesting so far, 2025. Hope your coffee is nice and hot, or your cup of tea, or your whatever. So today's is something I got on one of my links from Facebook that actually was from somebody I used to go to school with. So, and I went, yes, for me, this is, I wish more people realize that. There you go, guys. So when we yell and scream and complain about problems that we run into, my first hassle is don't just sit and whine and complain and scream. Do something about it. But let's make sure we're going to the right people to complain and yell and scream about that. So in this one, this is what the federal government is responsible for. So let's look at these. Airport, borders, Charter of Rights and Freedoms, the Canadian Child Benefit, currency, fisheries and oceans, national defense, Indigenous lands and rights, employment insurance, immigration, national parks, the environment, and the RCMP. Does anybody see housing there? Because I certainly don't. Guess where I see housing? Right there on provincial. And yet the federal government set up a way to found money to help communities build the infrastructure so the housing can be built. Nowhere in there is housing listed in the federal government. So if you want to complain about the federal government or your provincial government, make sure that you're complaining about something they can do something about. Note, education. The only time the federal government has stepped in on education, and that's because I wear a teacher's hat, that I know this, is they came up with years ago a consistency between the provinces that this would be the Canadian curriculum. It's a general outline of when things will be taught. So that dinosaurs aren't taught in grade 1, 2, because they're cutesy, and then retaught by 5 and 6, and then grade 7 and 8. Like, right? There are certain things we can build on it. We can take a concept, so we teach addition in grade 1, but then we teach it in grade 2 by adding regrouping, and then we teach it again in grade 7 and 8 when we're adding together like terms, so 4x plus 6x kind of mentality. So we do build on that, but that's the only time the federal government has stepped in, is to make sure there's a continuity between the provinces. Healthcare. Do you see healthcare in the federal government? Can you tell that I just had an argument with somebody downtown? Somebody yelling at me going, but that's the liberals' fault. Well, it's got nothing to do with the liberals at this point. It was more that they were yelling and screaming and saying it was the federal responsibility. And it's not the federal's responsibility. Your driver's license. Well, guys, my driver's license in Ontario, I can use it anywhere in the province, anywhere in the country. But I get it from the Ontario. It's my Ontario driver's license. It's not the Quebec driver's license. Justice. Okay. So that's why we have an OPP. And we have Manitoba Police and the Quebec Police. We have national. So if there's problems across the country, so we have bad guys in British Columbia who've moved to Ontario or Quebec or Newfoundland or whatever, the RCMP, if requested, can step in and help all those people. Liquor and cannabis, again. Okay. Do I see health here? No, but the federal government stepped in and made it legally acceptable for cannabis, just to make a continuity between one province and the other provinces and the territories. That's where the federal government is. The environment, because the environment, It's every province has to be responsible for the environment. The federal government is just overseeing it. Provincial courts. Obviously, we don't want the federal government stepping into provincial courts. They've got the Supreme Court. And see where my frustration is? Building permits. So, and think about this, the building permits, what would be acceptable for building in the territories with the permafrost, their building permits are going to have to be different than down in Southern Ontario, where we don't have to worry about permafrost. Buildings built in British Columbia, where they do have earthquakes, their requirements are going to be different than those of us down here in the GTA. Social services, it only makes sense, people, that social services are a community-based thing in the municipality, because what is required in the GTA, so downtown Toronto, is different than what is required in Listowel or Tobermory or Red Lake, Ontario, or James Bay, because each of those communities is different all on its own, and what services they need are going to be vary. Okay. Health, where's the health? I know it's down. Here's health. Okay. Don't start screaming at the federal government that you need more doctors when it is not their responsibility. You can scream at your MP if you want. Go scream at your MPP. Or your member of legislation if you're in Quebec. Anyways, I just found this really cute. Not cute. I found it very informative and I really liked it. I'd love to know where the person in question actually got it, because this is wonderful. That simplifies it to the T, puts it straight up. Okay. So there you go. So what's my comment? Make sure that if you have a problem, that you're find out which level of government is responsible for it. And that's the person you go to. So if it's, you don't like the fact that they're going to build a quarry, well, that's not a federal issue. That's a municipal AI, provincial. So there is a quarry close to me, which I laugh, only because it's been here for eons and eons and eons, and everybody's going, we don't want a quarry. Well, you can't fill it back up. They want to expand it. People are complaining about that because they don't want it in their backyard. But I've heard people, well, we're just going to go to our MP. Your member of parliament has got nothing to do with that. You want to go to your municipality, and then if that doesn't work, you go up to your MPP, member of provincial parliament, and talk to them about the problem, right? When you get to the federal government, you have to remember that, yes, they have environment there, but it's the environment that's going to affect the whole country, not your local quarry. Can you tell where my argument was the other day? It's like, okay, there you go. If you have a problem with your education, then you want to go to your member of provincial parliament. Go to your board of education first, then your member of provincial parliament. There is no education, so going to your MP is going to be useless. There you go. I think that's my shorts of today. I sort of frustration when people yell and scream and blame everything on the federal government. It doesn't matter what party's in power. They've always done this. We've always done it with me saying, but that's got nothing to do with it. I remember yelling 20 years ago or screaming 20 years ago that somebody said something about Stephen Harper and the Conservatives, and they need to do this and this. And I was, yeah, but that's provincial. And they just looked at me and I said, that's a provincial responsibility. I think it had to do with health, because that's the two big things, health and housing, or the cost of living. Well, cost of living, guys, tell me how the federal government can control that. They can't. It's right down to the companies charging you, or the housing costs or taxes. And then taxes, you're going to go to the people that are actually taxing you, whether it's your municipality with land taxes or your provincial taxes. And that can be GST, GST and PST, which are combined to make HST, like depending on your province. Like, use that little chart, figure out where the thing that you're complaining about, which level of government is responsible for it, and then go to them. There you go, guys. Hope you're having a good day. It's a little cloudy outside. In amongst this downloading and everything else, I'm going to go work on getting rid of my Hootsuite. So I hope everybody has a lovely weekend. Take care, and we'll see you next time.